familiar look with a new size, new sonar chart overlays, new transducers and add-on modules, we're breaking down the new Lowrance HDS Pro right now. Thanks for checking out this video on the In-Depth Sonar YouTube channel. I'm Lauren, your host, and today Lowrance announced a whole new product line for 2023, and we're gonna go over it all in this video. So we're gonna start with the HDS Pro, which is their new high-end series. Now this is basically just like your HDS Live unit with a few changes to it. So we'll start with the physical changes to the unit. First thing you'll notice right off the bat is the blue waypoint key on the top right. That also kind of gives a little bit of an accent to the hash marks on the arrow pad, as well as the HDS logo at the bottom right of the screen with the model number designation. It reminds me a little bit of what Google did with their Pixel phones in having that accent color on their power key. The blue accents are just a very small change to the physical appearance of the units, but it's a nice touch for the new series. As far as the sizes that the HDS Pro series is going to be available in, we've lost the 7-inch, just like in the Live series, they discontinued that over the summer. So we were left with a 9, 12, and 16 in the Live, and we have those exact same sizes, plus we also have the 10-inch size with the HDS Pro. I think the 10 is going to be a really popular size, especially with bass fishermen who want to have that dual display units on their dash. The price of a pair of 10s comes in at $1,300 cheaper than two 12-inch units. Now, if you're currently running a Live unit and you're thinking maybe I'll upgrade to the Pro after you watch this video and see all the features you're going to get, if you have a 9, 12, or 16, all the brackets are the same, all the connections on the back are the same, so it's a very seamless transition. If you want to get the new 10-inch unit, all the connections are the same. You just need to replace the gimbal bracket with the new one they have out for the 10-inch size. Because the 10-inch is the new size, it's the new unit in the Pro series, I want to spend a minute and talk about that right now. These units are going to come in at $27.99 with their 3-in-1 ActiveImaging HD transducer, or $25.99 with no transducer. The unit also has 2 programmable quick keys on it, where the 9 has none and the 12 and 16 have 4. I think Lowrance came out with that 10-inch size because Humminbird has it, Garmin has it, and really 9-inch units in the top of the line series are pretty much the smallest people are putting on the boat now. So having that 10-inch, it kind of fills that gap between the 9 and the 12, and it helps it fit in at another price point that, some people may find a little bit more affordable. However, when you compare it to a Garmin unit, a 10-inch Garmin unit, you're actually quite a bit more money. It's almost comparable to the price of the 12-inch Garmin EchoMap 126 SV units. All right, so now what are the new features on the HDS Pro unit? There's not a whole lot, but there are some with add-on modules, which we'll get into here later in the video. But the features that you're gonna get on the Pro unit actually relate to the charting quite a bit, and specifically overlays, sonar overlays on those charts. So what we're able to do with the Pro unit is now overlay the Scout mode onto our chart. We're also able to overlay Ghost 360 onto our chart now as well. Now, I understand both of those things, they're not the most popular features that Lowrance has out. A lot of people try them and then just don't use them. But they are a tool in your toolbox, and they definitely have their time and place. And I think with this sonar chart overlay, it actually will add to them. And let me explain how I would recommend using these new features. And we'll start with the Ghost 360 overlay. So if we overlay the Ghost 360 onto our chart, we can actually see how the cover on the structure we're fishing lays out. We're able to see it in high detail, and that can give us a really good mental picture of how that structure lays out, and we can then go and pattern that around the lake. Now, because of the limitations of Ghost 360, meaning that you're not able to control your trolling motor while the Ghost 360 is pivoting your trolling motor 180 degrees to create the image, a lot of people dismiss it. But I think if you just spend a few minutes using it to just get that picture on the structure you're fishing, it is a valuable tool to have, but it's not something you're going to use all the time. I understand that. The new Scout overlay feature will allow us to see in real time fish swimming around the structure, and then because it's overlaid on our map, we'll get an idea of how those fish are using the contour lines to position on the structure. So if you're fishing a lot of areas with current, or maybe ledge fishing on Kentucky Lake, for example, that would be a really good idea to use this feature when you've kind of got the spot you want to fish and get just that next level of information from it. Both of these features are more features you're going to use not so much when you're fishing, but when you're scouting an area. So I would recommend putting your trolling motor down, turning these features on, and then just watching your screen, watching how those fish are relating to the structure, how the structure lays out, And that's really how you'd use these two tools. So here's all the pricing on the HDS Pro units for you to take a look at. Pause the video right now if you want to see all this. All these part numbers will be in the description box as well, so you can just click the links and take a look at the most current pricing. The HDS Pro units are basically in line with the HDS Live pricing, but we do get all these new features now as well. A couple other things I've noticed on the HDS Pro that are just in the specs is we have HTML5 support for third-party apps. So I think that's something new we'll probably see with software upgrades down the road. Lowrance has also listed the internal storage on the unit at 8 gigabytes, and that's a spec I haven't seen on the HDS Live units or any others in recent memory for that matter. So hopefully that will allow us to do our Genesis Live mapping in that memory, and then no need for an external card for that. So that's a basic rundown on the HDS Pro series. I really feel that the value that Lowrance has added to the HDS Pro series is with the add-ons like transducers, modules, that type of thing. So we're going to start to look at those right now. We're going to start with the new ActiveImaging HD transducer series from Lowrance. ActiveImaging HD from Lowrance finally brings chirp sonar to their down and side imaging. This is something that the competition's been doing for several years now, and I mean several years, and Lowrance has finally gotten into that. So hopefully this is going to give us the clearest images we've ever seen on a Lowrance SideScan unit. In addition to chirp, we also have frequencies into the megahertz range as well, just like Garmin and Hummingbird do. So again, that will help with definition and clarity on the side scan. Now with these ActiveImaging transducers, Lowrance has also improved the design of it and the design of the bracket, which in my opinion is really important on these larger 10-inch transducers. And one of the versions also has a high-wide transducer option in it for your traditional sonar, which will also enable another feature, SideScan FishReveal, which we'll talk about as we go. So here's a comparison shot of the new ActiveImaging HD transducer at 1075 kilohertz on the right and ActiveImaging on the left at 800 kilohertz, which would have been the higher frequency and the more detailed frequency on ActiveImaging. So you can see we do have a lot more fine detail in this image. If you look at the rock pile on the left of the sonar screen there, it's definitely more defined and not as fuzzy. And same thing with that structure on the right of the screen. We can definitely see a lot more detail in it. Now, one thing you'll notice is the S3100 on channel 2 on the new ActiveImaging HD. That's a new sonar module that Lowrance has out. We're going to cover that later in this video. So ActiveImaging HD gives us 5 new transducer designs, and all of them support the megahertz side scan and down scan. So we have ActiveImaging HD 3-in-1, which will give you side scan, down scan, and traditional sonar. ActiveImaging HD 2-in-1, which will give you side and down scan, but not traditional sonars. That transducer would typically be used on a fiberglass boat, like a bath boat, where it's mounted up higher on the transom, and then you'd have an in-hull 2D transducer that would give you depth while you're on plane. Whereas the 3-in-1 would be better suited for an aluminum boat because the transducer will be in the water at all times while your boat's on plane, based on where it's mounted. Now I'm going to skip the next two for a second and go right down to the bottom of the list, the ActiveImaging HD 3-in-1 Ghost Nose Cone. And this is just going to be a higher detailed version of that nose cone, so it should improve the Ghost 360 images that we see. The two I skipped over there are the ActiveImaging HD 3-in-1 with FishReveal. There's the medium wide and high wide. So if you're a Great Lakes or saltwater fisherman, you'd want to choose the medium wide. If you're an inland fisherman, bass or walleye, probably you're going to want to choose the high wide. But the feature in there is the FishReveal. So what is that? That's actually taking the sonar arches that we see and placing them on the side scan. Now, if you're familiar with Lowrance products, we've had that on down imaging for quite a while, but now we're going to have it on side imaging. It does require that optional S3100 Sonar module, so we'll cover it a little bit more in detail in that section of the video. So is ActiveImaging HD something you should consider upgrading to if you have an older side scan product from Lowrance? We'll take a look at this comparison here. We've got structure scan in the blue at the top left. We've got ActiveImaging side scan on the left, and then on the right, we've got ActiveImaging HD side scans. So you can see as we move through these generations, we're just getting a much clearer, more defined, crisper image to help us identify structure just that much better. It is definitely an upgrade over ActiveImaging, but it's a huge upgrade over structure scan. So if you have a LSS2 or a total scan transducer, even a structure scan 3D transducer on your boat, I definitely recommend upgrading to ActiveImaging HD. And here's a couple more examples of ActiveImaging HD highlighting the chirp feature that we now have on these transducers. So the top two images are ActiveImaging HD at 1075 kilohertz chirp, and the bottom two are just ActiveImaging at 800 kilohertz. ActiveImaging HD isn't just going to benefit you on side scan, it's also going to benefit you on down scan if you upgrade to this transducer. Take a look at these images that Lowrance has provided on their down scan with the new ActiveImaging HD. We have the original ActiveImaging on the left. We have ActiveImaging HD at 700 kilohertz in the middle, and on the right we have ActiveImaging HD downscan at 1.225 megahertz or 1225 kilohertz. So just like we see in the side scan, we have that much more defined, crisper image, and it's especially noted in the bottom detail of these images as you compare them. Now when you put ActiveImaging HD transducers on an HDS Pro unit, that'll actually allow you to independently control the side scan frequency and the down scan frequency. So you can really fine tune the image for each of those based on the type of structure you're fishing. Now the maximum range on the higher frequencies, like when we're using our megahertz frequencies, is going to be 150 feet. That's out to the sides and down depending if it's side scan or down scan. But when you're in the low frequency, that range will increase up to 300 feet side to side or down for the down scan. So here's your pricing on the ActiveImaging HD transducers. I think the two most popular you're going to see is the first one, the ActiveImaging HD 3-in-1 at $399, and then the ActiveImaging HD 3-in-1 FishReveal High Wide at $499. So I'm sure you may have a few questions about ActiveImaging HD, especially with regards to compatibility. So it's a direct connect compatible transducer with HDS Pro. If you do want that FishReveal feature though, you do need the S3100 module even with an HDS Pro unit. If you have an HDS Live, an HDS Carbon, or Elite FS, and you want the high detail views that ActiveImaging HD provides, you can also add that S3100 module to get that on your older unit. So that's ActiveImaging HD from Lowrance, and I'm really happy to see that they have chirp frequencies and mega frequencies now to get them up onto the same level as their competition with Garmin and Humminbird. So now I've mentioned several times throughout this video the S3100 Sonar module and SideScan FishReveal, so I want to get into that now. So let's take a look at the new Lowrance S3100 Sonar module. The S3100 Sonar module is basically a cross between their current sonar module, the S5100, and a structure scan module we've seen from the past. Of course, with the newer transducers we can plug into it, the detail will be greater than those older structure scan modules, but it's that kind of idea. Now, I usually save the pricing for near the end of the talk on the product we're looking at, but in this case, I want to look at it first so you can kind of get an idea of the amount of money you're paying for the features you're getting, and you can decide if it is something you need. So the S3100 module itself comes in at $950. If we pair it up with an ActiveImaging 2-in-1 transducer, which provides just down and side scan, we're looking at $1280. And if we go with the 3-in-1, $1350. One of the new features we're going to get with the S3100 is SideScan FishReveal, which we'll talk about here shortly. So if we pair the module up with a transducer capable of that, we're looking at $1,400. And if we go with the high-wide version of that transducer, we're looking at $1,450. So as you can see, depending on your needs, you're looking at anywhere between $950 and $1,450 with a transducer. So for most people, I think that's going to be quite an expense. Of course, there will be a time and place for this module. If you're an HDS Pro user, really the only thing you're going to get out of this module is going to be SideScan FishReveal. But if you're an HDS Live, Elite FS, or Carbon user, this module will actually bring all the ActiveImaging HD features over to you when you add the module and one of the ActiveImaging transducers. So for those users, it's really nice that Lowrance has brought that over. So let's take a look at the module and the features it has. So it does have two 1 kilowatt sonar channels that are fully independent of each other. Sonar 1 will give you 1 kilowatt traditional low, medium, or high chirp and HD chirp downscan. That has the 9-pin plug. Sonar port 2, which is also our imaging port, has the 9-pin plug as well. That'll get you all those same features, plus it'll add HD chirp side scan support. In the center, you'll see the yellow Ethernet connector, which is the 5-pin connector we're all used to. The connector right next to it though is a new connector. It's a gigabit Ethernet connector. It's got 12 pins in it, and I have a feeling this is going to be their next generation Ethernet plug. This new port actually gives us 2 Ethernet ports on the module now, and this is something I've been asking for quite a while on all Sonar modules, is always have 2 Ethernet ports because it makes networking so much easier on most boats. So Lowrance has said that there will be an Ethernet adapter to take you from this new connector to a 5-pin network. So we'll take a look now at the performance screenshots that Lowrance has provided of this product. So here would be an example of an angler who is fishing offshore, who needs a high chirp transducer and a low chirp transducer to take a look at 2 depth ranges. So in this case, on the left-hand side of the screen, we can add a module and high chirp transducer, which will allow us to target that upper water column where we may be seeing suspended fish in higher detail. Then on the right-hand side of the screen, we can keep track with a low chirp transducer, again plugged into the module. That will give us the entire water column. We'll see those suspended fish, but also take a look at other depth ranges and see bottom contours. For a multi-species angler that you typically find around the Great Lakes region, who may be fishing offshore for salmon and trout while downrigging, and then also moving into inland lakes to do bass fishing, this module will actually allow you to do that very easily. In Sonar Port 1, you could plug in that 1 kilowatt chirp transducer to get you all the detail you need for that deeper water fishing while you're downrigging. Then in Sonar Port 2, you could plug in an ActiveImaging HD transducer for when you're focused more on structure fishing. Here's an example of the high frequency imaging that you're able to get with the ActiveImaging HD on, let's say, an HDS Live Carbon or an Elite FS unit. So this is a very detailed image. You can see out to the sides at 100 feet. We're looking at the chirp frequency in the mega frequency range right now. Throughout that entire 100 foot, we're able to see bottom objects in extreme detail, as well as seeing suspended targets in the water column. Now with those suspended targets I just mentioned, that's where this new FishReveal SideScan feature comes in. This is taking our sonar returns in that water column from our chirp transducer and overlaying them on top of the side imaging. So if you are using your side imaging to find fish, this is definitely going to be something that will be helpful for you. However, I know there's not a lot of people who use side imaging to find fish. So if you're the HDS Pro customer who's looking to add SideScan FishReveal, this is what it's going to look like. So just like the FishReveal we're used to from Lowrance, taking our chirp transducer and downscan, we're now doing the same with the SideScan. So here's a couple screenshots of it. We have some suspended fish arches relating to bait and the standing timber. And as you can see, it is quite cluttered up, I would say, but it does provide that information for us. I think when you're fishing an area that doesn't have as much cover on the structure, in the form of anything vertical in the water column, this feature may be a little bit more useful as it'll be easier to identify fish. This module can be connected to power in the traditional ways from Lowrance, where it's always on when you flip your master power switch, where it can be turned on with an external switch using the yellow wire, and then also using the MFD to control it through its power switch with that yellow trigger wire. So if you want to look at this in more detail, just pause the video. One new thing Lowrance has added because of the multiple transducers we can be using now is ping synchronization. That's you're going to use the blue wire on the power cable. So take a look at how that's connected here. So depending on your system, you may have a dual S3100 module or an S3100 and ActiveTarget 2, or even just the S3100 and an HDS Pro, because that can accept multiple transducers as well. We'll use that blue or blue and yellow wire in conjunction with each other in order to use the ping synchronization feature. And this will help to eliminate interference on your system while you're using multiple transducers. Now, a few questions you may have regarding the S3100 I want to answer right now. What if you have an older system like an HDS Gen 3 or even older than that? Will it work? The answer is yes, it will work, but all the features may not be available. Now, if you have a Sonar Hub module and you're thinking of maybe upgrading to this, there are a few differences. This module is a little bit wider, but not as tall. And the way that the connectors attach to it, they're basically up on the module a little bit more. So that'll help take up less space when you're fishing your cables through. It does use the same power cable as the Sonar Hub, and you can run it on 12 or 24 volts. Now, if you're a Structure Scan 3D user, those transducers are not compatible with this module, so if you wanted to upgrade from that system, you'd have to get the S3100 and one of the new ActiveImaging HD transducers, but you will lose out on the 3D view. Okay, so what are my thoughts on the S3100? Well, I have a few, and it depends for who you are. The nice thing I really like I mentioned, is that there are 2 Ethernet ports on it. So this is something really nice that Lowrance did to help in networking. The other nice thing I like about it is Lowrance is actually bringing a lot of the high-end features to their mid-tier Elite FS units with this module, which is something I can't remember Lowrance ever doing in the past. However, with that, I can't see many Elite FS users needing that dual 1 kilowatt sonar option when they're fishing offshore. Chances are they're going to have an HDS unit in that case, but for the few who want it, it's there, and it does also add the ActiveImaging HD to get those higher frequencies on those units, as well as the live and the carbon. But for the HDS Pro user, at this point, I can't really understand this module. To spend, like I say, almost $1,500 with the module and transducer to get you SideScan FishReveal, for that feature alone, I really don't see it. But maybe Lowrance has future plans for this module where it will add more features, and then we'll be able to justify that cost a little bit easier. So that's my take on the S3100 Sonar module from Lowrance. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. So next we're going to look at the ActiveTarget 2, which is probably why most of you have tuned into this video to see that. So let's take a look at that right now. Garmin has really been the leader in live sonar and forward-facing sonar since they came out with their Panoptix transducers. They just keep one-upping the competition. And Lowrance really came close with their original ActiveTarget. We're going to take a look at the ActiveTarget 2 and see how close that gets to not only the LVS32 LiveScope, but the LVS34 LiveScope Plus, and possibly even the LiveScope XR. One thing I talk about a lot in my videos is how Garmin is just that much further ahead software-wise on their units than the rest of the competition. So take a look at this video I did if you want to see what I mean by that. So I'm hoping a lot of the features that Garmin has brought to the market will be available on HDS Pro with ActiveTarget 2. Can't wait to get my hands on one to just check that out. The main thing that ActiveTarget 2 is going to bring us is 3 new sonar views, but they do come at quite a cost because you need to have 2 ActiveTarget 2 modules in order for these views to work. And if you already have the original ActiveTarget, we'll call it ActiveTarget 1 for the rest of this video, that will not work with these sonar views. You're going to need 2 ActiveTarget 2 systems. So let's take a look at these views now so you can see what they are. So with 2 systems, we're able to have 2 different sonar views. The transducer can be pointed at 2 different angles, and this is going to require some different mounts if you have the ActiveTarget 1. So the first view we get is the Scout and Forward. You can see both of those on the far left. In the middle, we have Scout Wide. So this is going to be 2 transducers in the Scout mode, angled to give you this expanded view covering almost all around the boat. This does require the additional Scout Wide bracket. Then we have the 180 view, and this is going to be 2 transducers, one basically pointing forward and one back a little bit, and that will give us a 180-degree view down below the boat. This 180 view is the closest thing that any manufacturer has done to come to my request of having a software switch to go between forward and down rather than a physical rotation of the transducer. So now with the 2 systems, we're able to point one back, point one forward. That will give us coverage under the boat and ahead of the boat as well. Now the downside to this is just look at how much screen you're wasting on these units. You can see how much dead space there is. It's close to half the screen, I would say. It's probably a 40-60 split between information we're actually using and just dead space on the screen. So that is the downside to these views. So ActiveTarget 2 offers these new sonar views, but what does it do with beam stitching, interference, ghosting, all of those things that Garmin got rid of with their LiveScope Plus over the original LiveScope? Well, Lowrance is calling this the smoothest image they've ever had and their highest resolution live sonar. And so far the images I've seen definitely reflect that, and so does the video. This is the first video of ActiveTarget 2 that I've seen, and we have a very clean and smooth image. There's very little beam stitching and next to no interference. And here's the down view with a school of baitfish swimming over that school bus. Again, same thing. Lowrance's claim of the clearest and smoothest image really holds true with this as well. The other thing I'm noticing is next to no interference, which we saw a lot on the original ActiveTarget. So it looks like Lowrance really did improve upon their ActiveTarget system with ActiveTarget 2. As far as compatibility goes with the ActiveTarget 2, it'll work on the HDS Live, HDS Carbon Elite FS units, as well as HDS Pro, obviously. If you want to see these new views, those are going to be exclusive to HDS Pro, so they won't work on any of your old systems when you have two ActiveTarget systems connected. One thing Lowrance is really talking about with their ActiveTarget 2 system is the target separation at distance. So looking at these screenshots, we've got schools of crappie 90 feet away from the boat. So when we're talking crappie, we're talking 10, 12-inch fish. And you can actually see this separation very clearly with this ActiveTarget 2 transducer. The ActiveTarget 2 transducer is going to look just like ActiveTarget 1 other than the number 2 designation on the transducer so you can identify it. But there is one other thing that they've done to the transducer. They've added new white markings on the alignment marks, so it's much easier to align your transducer. So you can see here in the different views, we have those white marks to help you know how to angle your transducer correctly. So wives everywhere are thanking Lowrance for this, so their husbands no longer steal their nail polish in order to make these marks themselves. We'll take a look at the different views so you can understand them. The standard ones we've had with ActiveTarget 1, these are the shaft mount brackets for a cable steer like a Ghost or an Ultrex. We have forward, down, and scout. If you have a Minn Kota Tarova or XI5, then you'll have these mounting options here for the same views. Again, forward, down, and scout with the motor mount bracket. And if you're not too familiar with the different views that we've had with ActiveTarget, here's the forward mode, the down mode, and then the scout mode. Now the new views with ActiveTarget 2 and HDS Pro is really what separates it from the competition. So let's take a look at those in detail now. So these 3D models will show you basically how the beams are going to work together to give you the picture that you're seeing on your screen. Forward and Scout is the two transducers, one in forward, one in Scout mode, and then displayed on your HDS Pro with a split screen view. The 180 view takes the two transducers, one angled forward, one angled back, to give you the 180-degree coverage below the boat and stitches those two beams together to give you a display on one screen. Now this view I think is going to be great for anyone who does a lot of vertical fishing, such as smallmouth fishing on the Great Lakes, where we're going to have full 180-degree coverage of our boat. We can display this on our bow units and on our console units so the angler in the front and back can see everything that's going on all at the same time. And then finally our Scout wide view, very similar to the 180 view. However, the transducers are just mounted with the optional bracket in the Scout mode to give us this huge coverage around the boat in Scout mode. So I want to just blow these up a little bit more just so you can see them and get a better understanding of how these views are going to look. So we'll look at the 180 view first. So as you can see, the orientation of this is almost like side imaging, where we have the zero line in the center of the screen, and then to the right and left, we're looking out 60 feet. So if your boat's about 20 feet long, this is basically how it's going to be oriented on the screen. Now again, my only complaint with this view is just the amount of dead space on the screen. So hopefully we can fill that up with a split screen view. Here's a look at the forward and Scout mode together. This will be helpful when you're targeting fish with your forward view. You're going to be able to see how they're using structure, relating to structure, and which way they're going when you lose them in the forward view. You still be able to see them in the Scout view. Lowrance also brought out a Scout shallow water mount, which is going to be optimized for water less than 10 feet. And because of the angle that the Scout mode typically would be at, it usually wasn't all that great in shallow water. This new mount is designed to fix that problem, and here's an example of it looking at a boat ramp. Of course, one of the biggest questions, if you're already an ActiveTarget owner, should you upgrade to ActiveTarget 2? Well, let's look at some comparison shots now. We have ActiveTarget on the left and ActiveTarget 2 on the right. The settings are the same on each transducer here. If you notice the top right in ActiveTarget 2, when you compare that image with the top left, the intensity of the signal is that much stronger. Much better sonar returns along the entire bottom. The detail in the trees looks about the same, but it does look like it may be picking up targets further away a little bit better. And here's another example. The bottom image definitely looks with a little bit finer detail in the bridge piling that we're seeing there, and even in the bottom to the left of the bridge piling. So to me, it definitely does look like a higher detailed, smoother image that Lowrance is claiming. So here we have ActiveTarget 2 again on the top and ActiveTarget on the bottom, and on the left image, you can see that school of bait fish around 20 to 40 feet, just that much more intense than the ActiveTarget. So far in all the images that I've seen, they definitely have made improvements to ActiveTarget 2 sonar. Now, whether or not it's enough to make you upgrade, that's something that you can decide. Now, as far as pricing goes, we're at the same point we started out with ActiveTarget 1, $1649 will get you the ActiveTarget 2 system. And remember, if you want to use the 3 new views that are available to HDS Pro, you'll need to double that number. And their optional Scout wide bracket is $80 to add that. There's an optional transom mount bracket as well. Should you do a lot of back trolling, this would be something you could add there, but you're definitely going to want to keep it out of the flow of water while your boat's on plane. So when we're mounting dual ActiveTarget 2 systems with HDS Pro, we do need to use the blue wire on the power cable and link those two together in order to do the ping synchronization feature. This will eliminate interference when you have those two transducers operating at the same frequencies at the same time. So there's a rundown on HDS Pro and all the add-on modules and transducers that you can get for it for 2023. So let me know in the comments what you think about HDS Pro and all these modules. Now, I'll be the first to admit, most of these new features come at quite a cost. ActiveTarget 2 at $16.50 to get these 3 new views, basically doubling the cost of it. To get FishReveal on the SideScan, we're looking at $15.50. So this is definitely our top tier pricing to get all these features. Is that something in today's economy that is a good idea? I guess only time will tell in 2023. If you're interested in getting all the information on these products, check out the video description where I've got links. You can check out all the pricing and all the specs on these products. So I hope you've enjoyed this rundown on HDS Pro. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel so you get our latest videos. If you do have any questions, please use the comments to ask. I'll be sure to help you out. Thanks for watching this video.